feasibility study. And the first thing we did, we said, well, we want to make sure about the accuracy of the numbers. So we got the best minds, and one of them sitting right out there, and Carter, about how to come up with an accurate budget and make sure that it's not fantasy, as I've heard somebody say, but that it is the real numbers. So we started looking at feasibility studies across the United States. And one was done down in Alabaster, Alabama. And what they did, they prorated these numbers. In fact, Ernie and I had a discussion about prorating. Well, that's not the most accurate way, although you can get some ballpark figures. What we did, we actually hired a research firm out of Raleigh, North Carolina, and I was associated with the Vanderbilt University. And he actually set up the number of school districts, hypothetical school districts throughout the state. Right now we have 136. If we had 6 additional districts, that would be 142. And if you look on your study at page 154 at some point in time, you can see the allocation sheet that you'd actually get if you had a municipal school district. And that is the superintendent. That's the one that Dr. Mitchell received when he was there. Ernie's familiar with that, and of course we got it there. So we want to make absolutely certain that the numbers we were putting out there. So the BEP is a three big categories. You can see that on page 154. Also, another very important page as far as finance is your frequently asked questions page again on 131. And that will answer a lot of questions in regard to finance. But we wanted to make absolutely sure that these numbers were correct. And of course, you know, the local option sales tax issue, we knew that was going to loom large when we first started this, because the same thing happened to me in Covington back in 2000. They had a transfer of administration. I know Mr. Rosen remember that. The big issue with the county. But one of the things they did was went to the local option sales tax. I was thinking I was going to get my portion, and I realized then it dawned on all of us, Jeff Upton and all of us myself out there, that you don't have to share that out of the half cent as long as the county's not something. So the BEP numbers are correct, and certainly we have taken very, very careful consideration of the numbers to make sure that you know that they're not something that's in the ballpark. We're talking about very accurate stuff.
Thank you, Dr. Price. We do want to make clear that if your citizens do decide to form a school district and if you do move forward to do that, you will be eligible for federal funds. Those are determined by the exact children and the type of children that you have in the school district. And as Dr. Price said, those are pass-through funds. They have to be spent for those federal programs. You've heard of it, Title I, Title II, and so on. And so we didn't include those in the operational numbers. But you would be eligible for them once it's determined exactly the makeup of the student. So when we looked at all these fiscal considerations, and we looked at the BEP, we looked at the property tax and sales tax, plus what 15 cents would yield on your property tax, was determined that you could generate about $17,333,000 in revenue each year. And that's from all of those put together. Then when we looked at what would it cost in terms of expenditures to serve 2,184 children, to hire all the employees that we talked about, provide the support services that we know have to be provided, whether it's technology, whether it's transportation, whether it's maintenance, whether it's utility, whether it's custodial. We looked at all of those things in the expenditure side. It is detailed, account by account in your study. We determined that the expenditure level would probably require $18,518,000. What that means is that if you form a school district right now, you would have a deficit or a negative number of $1.184 billion. Now, as we talked about, that revenue gap can be closed if your citizens decide that they would like to consider adding 1/2 cent to the local option sales tax. So these are the numbers, these are the revenues, these are expenditures, this would be the negative balance. But it's not a mountain that cannot be climbed. It can be climbed. Operational feasibility, student enrollment, we looked at it, and we know that cooperative educational contracts are probably going to be needed. And these are agreements between school systems to serve children or to provide other services. We talked with your leaders and said you'd like for students to be able to attend their current schools if possible. But when we look at enrollment, we looked at the number of school buildings that are here in Millington. this, ladies and gentlemen, there are fixed costs of running a school, whether it has 150 children in it or whether it has 950 children in it. And those fixed costs add up in a hurry. I'll give you some examples. Whether the school has 150 children or 950, it has a principal. Generally, it has an assistant principal. And it has a school secretary. It has a financial secretary. And it has a plant manager. And it has a cafeteria manager. And it has a librarian. And it generally has a counselor. And it has floors that have to be cleaned and restrooms that have to be cleaned. It's got custodial costs. It's got utility costs. Those are fixed costs of running any school. And so when you look at efficiency, you have to look at school enrollment size in terms of trying to determine how is the best way to use the money. So we're recommending that you consider that you would operate 2 elementary schools, 1 middle and 1 high school. And that students who live in the Millington annexation reserve areas and attend schools in Millington would be allowed to continue to attend school here, but that will require a cooperative agreement between the Millington School Board and a unified Shelby County School Board, the new school board that will be running Shelby County. There has to be an agreement. Now, these are very common. Mr. Carter, I know you remember many of them that we had, particularly ones we had at Hickory Hill when that annexation took place. There were agreements between city schools and county schools about serving children who lived in Memphis but didn't have a place to go to school. The county schools served. Same way in Cordova. It's been very common over the last 20 plus years. So these are called cooperative educational contracts. In addition, you could look at ways to collaborate with your other municipal school districts if they're formed. There's nothing that prohibits a cooperative agreement between Bartlett or Arlington or Millington to provide all kinds of services, whether that might be transportation, whether it could be maintenance and operations, or whether it could be issues such as food services and cafeterias, or whether it could be issues such as technology support and repairs. The current law doesn't require any new law. Permits school districts to cooperate with each other if they choose to. And so those are services that could be provided that way. Our study recommends that there are 3 ways you could do this. You either could go it alone, or you could join with other municipal school districts, or you could enter into a cooperative agreement with the current Shelby County Schools, who currently provides transportation and maintenance and technology repair. There's really a 4th way. You could outsource all those services to. So we've shown that in the study, and the operational costs are projected based upon what Shelby County is currently spending to provide these services. So let's talk about new taxes. That's always on people's minds. We told you that the State Board of Education rule requires that a municipality spend an amount equal to 15 cents on the local property tax. It doesn't say you have to increase your property tax 15 cents. It does say you've got to spend what that would produce. And that required spending revenue could be obtained through a 1/2 cent increase in the local option sales tax. And if in Millington right now, these are numbers that have been reviewed by us and that have been reviewed by Mr. Trustee and by others, if you increase the local option sales tax by 1/2 cent, it could produce in Millington $1,386,000 a year more than what you have now.